Right now, I would like to invite Aditya Bhattacharya to the stage to tell you a little bit about his film. Come on up.
Well, thank you for being here, and thanks Lalita and Tom for having me here, and for this is kind of very emotional for me. One is, I don't know if many of you know this, but this is actually Irfan Khan's first lead in India, and I had to give him time to go and shoot Maqbool, which is the film that actually was seen as the first Indian release, because that's a release film and this one wasn't. I won't go into right now, maybe later we'll go into the details as to why it's not released. And in time, we almost lost the negative of the film. And with the excuse of this screening, I kind of marshaled together the funds and the energies to put together this very special 4K copy, which I'm seeing with you for the first time, because it was done remotely. I'm living in Barcelona, and all the work was an army of people working in India putting this together. And it's kind of the nick of time that we got it here. So this is a very, very special screening for me. And there's one funny thing. I actually had forgotten how long the film was. So it says 103, but it's actually 123 minutes. So I hope you like it, because otherwise it'll be 20 minutes too long for you guys. All right, I'll see you later. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Please welcome Aditya Bhattacharya. Please, center stage. And also joining us on stage tonight is Lalita Gopalan. She is a professor of film at the University of Texas, Austin. Her latest book, Cinema's Dark and Slow in Digital India, was the inspiration for this whole film program. She also let me know about Aditya's films. So thank you, Lalita, and take it away.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. You can hear me, right? Thank you, Aditya, for this amazing film. I think we can say that for all of us returning to the theaters to watch a film, to watch a 123 minutes long film is sort of like a gift. And this is, I was telling Aditya, it was Tom's gift to me, because I'd only seen it on Vimeo, Dubai Return. And here it is on screen, and for all of us to watch it in this fashion. So I have to wear two hats. I want to ask Aditya questions, but I'm also somebody who writes about cinema, so I've been tripping on this film, so I just want to say a few things about it before we begin. I wanted to place this, well, most of us know Aditya because of the cult classic Rock, which came out in 88, 89. So that sort of sets the stage for all of us. And so this arrives in 2005. Like the character who returns to Bombay 10 years later, we see this 15 years later on large screen. It sort of did its festival rounds. So I think the timing is fairly important for those of us trying to place this within the rubric of world cinema. So as I was watching it, I was thinking, this is the perfect revised gangster film, which fits in with a very long history of revised gangster films. Breathless, 1960, so we should place it there. La Samurai, Melville's before that. And then, of course, you're thinking of Ghost Dog, Jarmusch's Ghost Dog. All of these films make the viewing of the gangster film a difficult process, right? I mean, that's what it is. It challenges cause and effect. There's none of the pleasures of gunfight. It's distended. Rock does a fair amount of that. And you keep thinking, okay, there's going to be something that's going to happen. It actually doesn't, right? That's the whole thing. Nothing really happens. And in a way, this puts it in the art cinema category. We think it's gangster, so it's one of those great stealth gangster films. So there's that. On the local level, which the other films, I think Aditya is in conversation with people like Hansel Mehta, Dil Par Mat Le Yaar, there is that. And there's this funny, zany gangster films, which are no longer gangster films that have come out of India, which means that the hyper-realism of gangster films and showing the underbelly of Bombay and documenting its sordid stuff, okay, that's one kind of cinema, what I would call continuity cinema. So that's one kind of cinema. And here is a cinema that takes cinema very seriously. The archive of cinema, the song and dance, the form, its style, and what else would be more glorious than a gangster film, which promises a fair amount of hits, but then delays it, belates, I mean, you don't just have it, right? at the end, of course, it's Aditya who has to come there and save the poor sod, right? And sort of send him off to Dubai all over again. So there's a kind of space that the film holds. And watching it again over here with the pleasure of the audience, I think it's for a cinephile, forget the scholar, it's a particular pleasure. So, Aditya, the question to ask is, sorry, I just have to say this, we have a pumpkin hour here. We have a pumpkin hour, right? We have to kind of close shop because the theater closes. And Aditya is a great raconteur, so I want to ask about the archive of the sound track in this film, as a way of thinking about your own legacy, your own work, and otherwise as well, right? I mean, in fact, the soundtrack was sort of mind-blowing. And could you speak about it? Not just the sound, I mean, yes, the songs, and the ways in which the sound was mixed, as a way of thinking about your place in this thing called Bombay cinema with a legacy that is kind of like, it's so hard, and how does one wear all that lightly, and you're nothing, like your grandfather or your father. These films have nothing to do with their work. It has nothing to do with Bimal Roy's work, it has nothing to do with Aditya Bhattacharya's work, and its own thing on world cinema, so yeah. Could you answer in any which way? I'm going to let you talk.
For me, as I was thank you guys, because this was a gift for me, because, I haven't seen this film for 15 years. In fact, I had forgotten how long it was. But more than anything else, because I'm a Pravasi Indian, in the sense I live away from, and as I was saying earlier to you guys, for me, what epitomizes Bombay is the lovable loser, is the guy who's doesn't have a chance in life, but he lives it with aplomb. And all the music in this film is actually failed music. It's second-rate music, which, however, I'm in love with in many ways. And so the film and the music and the characters, it's all kind of an homage to a B-level everything, which is what I love about the A level. For me is boring. The B level is what my city is about, and the dignity of the city is about. I mean, how does a city with 22 million people and about 30,000 cops survive? Because those, 20 million have absurd dreams. They keep kind of, and so that's what, this is like these foolish guys who are, like men who need to grow up and kind of do at the end of the film. But they're just fun to watch as they stumble around and try to figure out what their life is about. And there's this, there's this really sad, but a truth which I think it exists definitely here, definitely, let's say, in downtown LA, which is there are people who grow up where the only heroes they have, only role models they have, is bad guys that, do things. That's the only success they've seen, which, for me, it's at the end, Aftab and Nandu kind of realize it's okay not to be bad. It's okay. And the only sensible people in the film are actually the women, which is more or less the case in my life. I mean, so I don't know if I answered your question.
No,
so
I'm actually curious about the soundtrack, which you're talking about. Sorry, I'm curious about the soundtrack.
Just hold it up to you.
Yeah, I'm curious about the soundtrack because of this refurbished theater that we've watching it in, which is kind of terrific, with this great sound system, and the conversation we had earlier, where it was with the recording, those of you must have thought like, oh, it's a bit low. So could you actually speak to that, the kind of retro quality of the film?
I mean,
yes,
I think the whole film has a kind of slightly like, when was this made? Is it 80s? Is it, and so this is actually a purposefully built stereo mix, which is kind of flat and kind of, I think, goes better with the picture rather than a 5.1 surround, because it doesn't. It's not that kind of movie. Even the guys, the way they dress is kind of, it's like they're period, but they're not really, so,
Yeah, it's It's retro and nothing, yeah, there is that.
It's, it's like I'm trying to be like a B movie, which is kind of tough to make a movie that's trying to be a B movie, but that's, I guess, more or less, I guess, my answer. I don't know if I succeeded in doing that. No.
No, you are. What I'm curious is precisely the stuff called B-movie, right? Which is the dross, the archive, which is on the mediascape, right?
And which is not what my father or my grandfather
Exactly,
did.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Who's,
They definitely did.
yeah, they wanted to be part of quality cinema, part of national cinema, so that was the space to be in, right? So, and at the same time, you're also not part of realism, the kind of stuff that Anurag,
No.
which is very real gangster work, which is sort of docu-fiction in a way. I mean, this is cinema. It sort of takes the time and space of cinema very seriously, and it's playing with
And dream sequences and ghosts and, silly romantic moments and all of that. I mean, it's all kind of kitschy.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love that. Now, it's a difficult line to walk because, but hopefully it works. I mean,
It worked for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sort of curious about it. Because it's precisely this that makes also what we... But you can't dismiss it because it's so serious about its kitschiness that it becomes a way of thinking about what is it that we call cinema again. That's what it is. In a way, that's part of why I brought up even people like Jarmusch's work in Ghost Dog, where he's evoking to a very large extent both Melville and Suzuki's work, right, from Japanese cinema, and sort of like remaking it in a big way. So that was part of my response to.
Can I just slowly? I know we don't have a lot of time, but so there's two people who are almost definitely in heaven, if you believe in heaven, which is Razak Pai and Irfan Pai. So the two, the older guy, Khilji Pai, and Irfan Khan, who you recognize. And Razak Pai, in his own life, was kind of a guy who's done more than 250 films, but really bad movies. I mean, movies that are not going to be on anybody's any kind of list. And yet, for me, there's a kind of beauty and dignity in this, journeyman actor that does lots of really bad films. And I had to push, even with my finances and everything, that I wanted him to play this. He's never had a role like this. And one of the, my great sadnesses is that I think this film would have completely changed how he was evaluated by the industry. And those who've seen it in festivals and things have done that, but, the film didn't ever have a proper release, so. And so in many ways, he epitomizes, because I come from the other side of town, And so for me, just our interaction, we became friends in life, is that in some ways, he comes from Madanpura, which is a part of Bombay where basically it's known for criminals. It's not known for comic actors, which is what he was. And they loved him because he came from a place that was marked by death and sorrow, and he made people laugh, even if he made them laugh in really bad movies. And, so in some ways, this movie is kind of inspired by people like him. Because I grew up in the world where he once confessed to me that they used to come from Madanpura to Bandra to see Bandra people. Like it was just such, it's like, I guess somebody going from Boyle Heights to Beverly Hills, I guess could be just to see like how do people walk and then, yeah. So.
Do you want to take some questions from the audience while we're here? If anyone has a question, raise your hand.
You guys
and we
are
have
still here,
some
actually,
microphones here
so.
to come around. So let's.
Why was it not released? Sorry. Can you just describe for us the story behind the, release timing?
Movies are often, independent kind of movies are financed in just intriguing ways. And so one of the people who put money in the movies was not deserving of the movie, but that's then becomes complicated. So, I mean, my thing is that because I need to have what you call final cut, to have total control, I do not work with studios or with established, and so I go and look for different private funds. The downside of that is, sometimes you could turn up with someone who then later, just is a difficult person to deal with. And so my dream is to actually kind of buy it out and then, put it into the world. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for a very interesting film. Before the movie started, I had a chat with you and I said, we don't see such good movies. And you said, how do you know it's a good movie? Well, let me assure you, I did find it met my expectations. Now, I saw the movie at two levels. First, as a spoof or a satire on the Mumbai underworld. And I think you captured all the stereotypes very well. The way the Hindi is spoken, the way the Irani restaurant. I loved the Irani restaurant setting. That was wonderful. And at another level, I saw it also as probably a template for the experiences of many expatriate Indians who find themselves to be a misfit in the foreign country and then come back to the mother country to sort of rehabilitate themselves and fail there, and then they go back to the foreign country like it happened in the movie. So I would like your impression. Did you have any such intentions to convey those kind of...
Well, I actually, you don't analyze your own work in that kind of way when you make it. So I realized later when I was, things that make me laugh about the film is that I'm a little bit like him in the sense I had one hit and then everybody wondered where I went. And then I came back after 17 years and it's like, oh, you're the guy that made that film? What happened? You don't make movies anymore? So I realized it's kind of a funny autobiographical, but when I was telling the story, I just thought it was very funny that, somebody wants to be known for having committed a murder and that gets, kind of somebody else gets the credit for it. But in a sense, I think now watching it so many years later, I think it's kind of like me saying, hey, I made that film that many years ago. Remember me? Can I get a job, please? So, I think it's really as simple as that. Yeah.
Anyone else with a question in the audience?
So the fact that you came in at the end as another shooter, was it pre-decided or was it off the cuff?
No. That actually, as usually happens, there was an actor, I asked an important actor, will not name him, to do a cameo, like a guest thing. And Bombay is a big city, he was shooting somewhere else, and we were losing light. At which point, actually Irfan Bhai kind of said, I think you should do it. And I said, who'll direct me? And he said, I'll direct you. It worked out. I mean, so it literally is because we didn't have that, we had, very little, 5 lights and, 3 lenses and the location. We couldn't come back to hire that location again because it's a kind of disused mill. And so, I borrowed a kurta and put on that thing and then, that's
Thank you.
How did you cast Irfan? So, since it's an honor of Irfan Khan, so
Yes.
how did it come about?
So I really wanted to work with him on dramatic work. He'd done some TV before that. Bizarrely, both our careers started in exactly the same year because his first small role is actually in Salam Bombay, which is the same year as it made Rakh. And I kept trying. I pitched him for a TV pilot, etc. And then whilst meeting and talking with him, so I was kind of a fan of, this, you could see that there's this just humongous talent, but he looked wrong for our town. He wasn't going to get, at least at that time, it's like, this is not the guy who's going to get a lead role. And then whilst talking to him, I just realized he had this incredible, quiet, comic timing, which is the comicity of just pure timing. It's not trying to make you laugh. And it was also a foil too. So for me, Razak Bhai is the first guy that I cast, and then it's like you do the ensemble, you have the alto, and then you want, so they just kind of fit. And we had such a ball. I don't know of too many film sets, because, you're shooting real sound, and there's not a lot of money and everything, that a lot of times I had to say cut, because the actors would start laughing because of how funny the other actor was. And that happens only when you're having too much fun. And we had a ball making the movie. So yeah, it's just, yeah. And this is, I don't know. You guys have seen maybe more Irfan films. I don't think this was actually his favorite performance, and he was heartbroken because he's always been seen as a dramatic actor.
That's what struck me seeing this film, is that I had no idea he had this, like you said, great comic timing.
Most of the audience actually, which is, one of the things that I guess makes this special, yeah.
There's one film called In His Zindagi or something, which is kind of funny, which is much later, much later.
Yeah.
And we've all seen him in very serious roles, right? Whether it's on television and Treatment, or Namesake, which is the kind of melancholic.
Yeah, and Lunchbox, and
Yeah, it's kind of pathos-driven kind of, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap things up here, but thank you so much, Aditya, for coming and showing us this rare, wonderful film.
Everybody.
Thank you all for coming. Yeah.